What is going on, FA Nation? John Pemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook live show. It is Monday. We are kicking off a new week with a 9-game DraftKings main slate. Sir Grande, how we doing here, man?
Happy Monday. Doing good. Doing great. Doing fine.
Yeah. You should be doing extra fine. I mean, for those of you who may have missed it over the weekend, maybe didn't watch the preview show, Grande coming in second place on the 4th of July on the $4.20 max, I think it was. Nice little near takedown there. We gave out a preview lineup that day, stacking the Cubbies, and Michael Busch hit like with 3 home runs.
3.
PCA, Dan Swanson.
Yeah.
Donovan was in that game.
Yep, Donovan
just absolutely smashed.
So, they hit 8 home runs. That was the franchise record for home runs. 8 on that day.
Yeah, and the only thing that cost me on the DK $2 million King of the Diamond contest was that Houston went and scored like 16 runs that night.
Sure.
Because I had PCA as my pick. Highest scoring team. All you need is a player of homers on the highest scoring team, and you split the pot. It was looking pretty good until the Dodgers decided to play t-ball. Anyway,
post Shohei, right? Wasn't it post Shohei?
Was that after the Shohei start? There's 2 innings, and they just got lit up after that.
No. You know what? It was Kasparius. I take it back.
Yeah. So anyways, we have that. We have a couple of games here. Some potential rain in Cincinnati. We'll have to watch what happens. There, I live in Boston. I just took my dog for a walk. It is very warm outside. So good hitting weather.
There's winds in Fenway as well.
Yeah. So if you are looking to play the Red Sox versus lefty, which we all probably should be looking to do today, Boston looking pretty good there.
Don't worry. The field is.
I know. We'll get into ownership. Secret, not kept. Here when it comes to the Red Sox versus lefties here. And then maybe some rain, pop-up storms in Kansas City to watch out for in their matchup against Pittsburgh. No O'Neal Cruz in the lineup for the Pirates tonight, as we talked about last night. That guy doesn't look like he wants to play baseball anyway, so Pirates are obliging him on that one. So that's the weather to watch. You mentioned the ownership. We'll get into there. If you go look at fantasyalarm.com, we did update that ownership right before we went live, and you'll see like 6 of the top 8 are Red Sox players today. But your number 1 starting pitcher, ownership-wise on this slate, is Jacob deGrom. $10,300. Gets a slight price discount on Yamamoto, who's at $10,500. deGrom garnering over 40% rostership as it stands right now. And I don't think we have much to argue on that point.
No. The only thing I'd argue is the need to spend up today. But if you are spending up, obviously Jacob deGrom is great. And this was pretty obvious. I think the first things we said last night on the previous show were Jacob deGrom's going to get all the ownership and Yoshinobu Yamamoto's the pivot. And that's exactly the case. If you are spending up, that has not changed in any capacity. Jacob deGrom is going to be over 50% in single entry, and he's going to be near that in large field stuff. So it's a great spot. Like, obviously, this is the creme de la creme in terms of ceiling strikeout matchups. So, like, I get why people would go there, but I think that there's a couple of those spots on the slate that you can gravitate to that are significantly cheaper. But again, it's Boston allows you to do whatever you want because they are so cheap. So it just really depends on how you want to go with your roster construction, but no issues going to either of the top 2 guys.
Yeah, and they're the top 2 roster plays of the day. Obviously, again, Jacob deGrom's over 40%. Yamamoto's 24%. And then Sanchez and Kikuchi are around 20%. We went right to Christopher Sanchez last night being like, why? This is a matchup that we should certainly be looking to target. He's been phenomenal. You highlighted, obviously, the all-star snub. So there's a chance to kind of get that kind of game if you believe in those narratives. We talked about not needing to spend up because a guy like Sanchez is right there. But then the other play that you were high on was Yusei Kikuchi, even though he is opposite of DeGrom, just elite strikeout potential, and the cheapest he has been in over a month at this point.
Yeah, and we had kind of dug into that, which was criminal to begin with, why his price has sat at this number. And as I dug into numbers today, John, nothing changed for me in terms of like my desire to play Yusei Kikuchi. The Rangers strike out basically 24% of the time. That's 11th highest mark in the league against left-handed pitching. And where things have changed for Kikuchi is that he is generating a boatload of swings and misses. He is at about 10.5% swinging strike rate on the year. And that's because he's been over 12% in 4 straight starts. And in 3 of them, he's been over 16%. I mean, if you're generating 16% of your pitches to be swings and misses, you are going to get a lot of strikeouts. And that has been on full display, as you can see, like just recently. So against a team that strikes out a lot against lefties for a pitcher that is missing a ton of bats, I love it. And to the Sanchez point, it's not very different than Kikuchi. He has a matchup against the Giants, and as Anthony so eloquently said about Kakashi being severely underpriced, he is underpriced for this matchup. And we know Anthony, has, the Phillies propaganda spewing through and through, and
fully on board with it today.
Fully on board with it. And I respect Anthony he is the Philly fanatic that people talk about, right? Like the fan of like your teams through and through. Like every show, salute to you, Anthony, for coming into every show we do with your fandom on full display. I respect
Not
the hell
always.
out of it.
He has criticized his team in spots as well.
Yes, but he's the guy that was clapping for Trey Turner in the ballpark that one day and got him going, right? Like they knew they needed to turn him around, but like they also were like, this guy sucks until then, like I respect that. That's a true fan. Anyways, the point of this is he gets a Giants lineup that, long-term will be good with Rafael Devers, but short-term they're not. And short-term they strike out a lot, 25.6% of the time against lefties this year. And Christopher Sanchez at a career high in terms of strikeout rate, 26%, career high swinging strike rate, 13%. He generates a ton of whiffs. So I think this is another ceiling spot in terms of strikeouts for Sanchez. So between those two pitchers, those were the two guys that I, in my research, have like, if I'm not spending up on Yoshinobu Yamamoto or Jacob deGrom, where would I want to go next, or who has the upside to kind of match those pitchers? And those were the first two names that.
Yeah, and again, we were right on point with Anthony there. We went right to Sanchez, went right to Yusei Kikuchi. I mean, if you are looking to make some pivots there, you have Jose Barrios at just 10% ownership tonight. Half the percentage of Sanchez, and Kikuchi obviously more expensive than Yusei, but cheaper than Sanchez by a little bit. We talked about the White Sox matchup. Barrios coming off a handful of really good starts. Obviously not the most recent one versus the Yankees there, but had a start against the White Sox, 7 2/3, shutout baseball, 5 strikeouts in that one, almost 28 fantasy points. So I can make a pivot from there. Or if you're looking to pivot off Gordon, I mean, Kikuchi, you have Gordon. Warren wants to know, is Kikuchi greater than Gordon for the upside? I mean, the strikeout upside for Kikuchi is certainly far and away. But Cleveland versus lefties, man, that's been your play all along, and you have Gordon for a couple of $100 cheaper.
Yeah, like I think the way that Warren asked it is correct, because I do think Kikuchi does have the higher ceiling. And that's mainly because the strikeouts, and also, but like not often Colton Gordon has pitched deep into games. In fact, he's only completed 6 innings once this year. But when he faced Cleveland, he got through 5 innings and he threw 75 pitches, right? Like that's there's upside for more. And in 3 of his last 4 starts, he has thrown at least 87 pitches, which was not the case in his first 5 starts with the team. They had been pulling him, getting him out of the game. You're done. Get out of here, whatever. And I think there's a case that we can see Colton Gordon get a quality start, pitch deep and deeper than normal into this game, have a ceiling strikeout game. You look at the Guardians today, John.
Yeah.
Right? They have lost 10 straight games. 10 straight. They have been shut out 5 times in their last 10 games. That is a lot for a year to be shut out. They have been shut out 5 times in the last 10 games. Not only have they been shut out, they've only scored more than 4 runs once over that span of 10 games. Once. And again, they lost it because they haven't won any of them over the last 10 games. They're 30th in OPS. They're 30th in WOBA. They're 28th in ISO. They're 28th in WRC+. It's Jose Ramirez and friends. And Jose Ramirez is obviously reeling because nobody can do anything other than him. So, while I think Kikuchi definitively has the higher ceiling, I wouldn't even really comp the 2 pitchers. Colton Gordon's a damn good pivot if you don't think Kikuchi has a ceiling game, right? Because we've seen early form Kikuchi out after 5 innings because he can't throw strikes, and he has 5 walks. And if Colton Gordon gets through 6 innings of scoreless baseball or 1 runs and 7 strikeouts, you're looking at a guy who is playing for possibly has the best win equity on the slate, and he's priced at $7,000, right? The Astros are coming off a sweep of the Los Angeles Dodgers in LA. That's not they just went into LA and said, we are better than you, and swept them. So I think there's a lot to like about Gordon. The way you phrased it obviously matters here. Yes, Kikuchi has more upside, but I think Colton Gordon's a great pivot in this range. And yeah, I am a fan of a guy who's not being rostered.
Sure.
Not being rostered again. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's 5% rostered today.
What do you make of the ownership on Tanner Bybee in the opposite side of that matchup?
Anthony, I think that's a hilarious comment. It is. Yes. I think that Tanner Bybee is a good pitcher that is facing an offense that has previously struggled against righties. They don't have Christian Walker tonight. They don't have Jeremy Pena because he's on the IL. Their lineup is interesting, right? They don't have Jake Myers. He's hurt too. So, when 6-hitter Cooper Hummel is a 6-hitter.
Yeah.
That's a thing, but the top half of their lineup's still pretty good and still does a lot of damage. So
they got Cam Smith hitting second.
He's hitting second. I get it.
Taylor Trammell,
Yeah, no, dude, the lineup is
it's not great. But probably why more people are going to the Bybee route, but
yes.
Still not necessarily a great spot.
It's fine. It's fine. I will say he's a good pitcher that's $7,000. It's the same, but it's almost like the same. You can group him with Kikuchi and Gordon.
Sure.
That's how I probably view it.
Richard Fitz, $6,200. Andrew Heaney, $65,000 were 2 value plays. We talked about less than 1%, less than 0.5% is playing Andrew Heaney today. We talked about him coming off of a great start and how bad Kansas City has struggled. And then Richard Fitz is someone who's just kind of had some bad luck on his side. Got hurt, then had his return start where he was on an obvious pitch count, then got shelled, so they pulled him, then got a rain game, pitched okay in the return from that.
Cincy was the rain game.
Cincy was the raining game. Pitched okay against the Angels here. 4 innings, 83 pitches, right? Just had a bad 1 inning. I think he threw 40 pitches in 1 inning, I read today in that start. So that kind of threw him off tilt here. But if he's going to be able to throw 80 pitches today against Colorado at $6,200, there's a chance he goes 5+ innings here.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's a couple things. You're right. There's definitely weather concerns that are not on the Richard Fitz side. Like, it's hot and it's wind blowing out.
Sure.
Those are two things you don't want in Fenway, right? Because it's already a smaller ballpark that just has a big wall over there. So they're like, oh, it's not that small, but it is. It's very tiny. It's just a big wall.
The right down the line it is. It's very deep to center though.
Yes, to center it's very deep. But with the wind blowing out, he has a righty problem, like a big righty problem. 314 ISO to righties, 332 expected ISO to righties, 365 WOBA, 395 expected WOBA. And the Rockies are rocking a bunch of righties right at the top of their lineup today. I think they sat Jordan Beck. But I think 3 of their first 4 hitters are righties, and I think they have 6 in their lineup tonight.
Yeah.
And the lefties haven't been terrible either. Like Mickey Moniak's homering a lot lately.
To your point, the last month they have a 199 ISO on the road versus right-handed pitching, but that comes with a 34% strikeout rate.
Yeah, and that's where you have to decide, like, the Fitz play is definitely large field stuff. Like, you can't, I don't love it in single entry because I do think that the Rockies can hit some home runs in really good weather here against a guy who is clearly struggling against one split. And, the Rockies' 2 best players this year, Tyler Freeman, Hunter Goodman, are hitting 1-2 and hit from the right side. Right. So, I would say I'm fine with it. I'm less enthused with it than I was like on the pre-show.
Are you more on Heaney then tonight?
I would say Heaney's the better play. I would say Fitz probably has a higher strikeout matchup because the Royals still, like, although they stink against lefties, they're 29th in most categories. They still only have like a 21% strikeout rate. But I do think it's a little bit interesting. Yeah, I think Heaney...
What if I told you over the last 2 weeks, the Royals against left-handed pitching have a 32.5% strikeout rate?
It's insane. I mean, that is kind of crazy and not crazy, I guess, because they're playing Caglione, who isn't bringing it back to the plate. He has a bunch of strikeouts. Bobby Witt striking out more.
Again, we've kind of started to notice the strikeout numbers ticking up.
It was that Tampa Bay series,
right?
It was right whenever that was, and this that obviously falls in this stretch of time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that series where, like, dude, they just got Taj Bradley had a perfect game through 7.
Yeah.
Boz went 8 1-run, 10 strikeouts or whatever it was. And then Rasmussen threw 5 scoreless and 50 pitches or whatever the heck the outings were. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously a big number.
And again, we're cherry picking stats here, but 2-week sample size, 33% strikeout rate, 3rd highest in baseball. So
yeah, they in full body of work, they just been a bad team in general against lefties. Yep.
So you're getting less than 0.5% on Andrew Heaney today. Now, again, offensively, they have nothing coming their way either. There's no O'Neal Cruz for whatever that brings to the table. Noah Cameron hasn't been great, but Cameron probably can shut down that lineup what they're throwing out there today. So anything else for you at pitching?
Would you play Noah Cameron? You mean you just...
Nah, I don't think so. I think I'd rather go Berrios. You'd rather play Noah Cameron?
I don't know. You just said they're not going to hit him. No, I don't
think they will, but I also don't think Noah Cameron is a good pitcher. I
think that the fact that he can't pitch deep into games and they don't let him pitch deep into games is a big concern.
Sure.
Because they don't. I mean, they just will not allow him to pitch.
I mean, this would be a great spot, right? Not only do they not score in general, strikeout rate overall on the year, they're right up there among the highest in the league against lefties. So in theory, I think if this was like any other lefty, we'd probably give him a look. But I'd rather just spend down if I had to, or spend up. So, all right, catcher. You mentioned obviously the Hunter Goodman righty spot. If you want to pay $5,100 today, certainly can. As we talked about, Boston's all very cheap, so you can really spend up wherever you want. Carlos Narvaez is your highest roster catcher today at $3,600. Goodman's number 2. And then Salvi Perez and Augustin Ramirez round out the top 4.
Yeah, I like Goodman because I think this is a good home run spot. I like Augustin Ramirez moving up a spot in the order because there's no Otto Lopez tonight. I'm good there. I think you could play Alejandro Kirk. Blue Jays look pretty good today against Burke. Narvaez is obviously great play. I think Real Muto is a little bit interesting. I don't think we've gotten the Philly lineup yet, but we've talked about Landon Roop a couple times, and Landon Roop is a specifically bad hitter or bad pitcher against right-handed hitters. So I don't mind Real Muto. I like Liam Hicks hitting 4th. Brady Singer has a serious lefty problem. So I think that there's definite interest in getting some Liam Hicks, and you can play him at first if you're also stacking Marlins and playing Augustin Ramirez. So you could play Hicks here. You can play either Houston catcher, both in premier lineup spots. I like Salvi-ish. I don't really like Kansas City in general, but I like Salvi-ish.
Sure.
That's like kind of my... Like, I would be fine if you needed a punt going to Henry Davis, but like, I'm not saying that with like really any conviction. I don't, it is kind of just whatever.
Warren wants to know our thoughts on Will Smith versus Peralta.
He was a pretty good actor. Fresh Prince is probably my favorite show of all time. He slapped Chris Rock once live on an award show. Oh, that Will Smith.
WD.
WD-40. Yeah, he's fine. He's really good.
Dodgers lineup, they're all going to be, in play.
They just got swept. They probably want to like seek vengeance on somebody, and it might unfortunately be
a lot of good teams losing baseball games these days.
2025 All-Star Freddie Peralta might have something to say about that.
First base. Again, from an ownership perspective, not to be redundant, your Red Sox are all going to be popular. Romy Gonzalez is more than double the next guy. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is your second highest rostered first baseman today at 52. But again, you got Romy hitting second at $4,400 in that ballpark, in that right split. It's just, is there like, are you fading Red Sox today? Like, I mean, again, you're playing the 20 max now, so you're going to definitely have Red Sox in your lineup. But is there like a conceivable reason to not play Red Sox today?
Oh man, Austin Gomber's bad, dude.
We talked about it last night. His average fastball velo is 88 miles an hour.
He has. So here's some numbers for Austin Gomber this year. Against righties, he has a 5% strikeout rate. 5.
Not great.
It's not good. So everything he gives is just in play, right? Boston has a boatload of righties. I think Roman Anthony and Willier are the 2 lefties, right?
Yeah.
He's allowed a 268 ISO. It's a 290 expected ISO to righties. He has allowed a 426 WOBA. He has a 7% swinging strike rate. It's just hard to like. I guess the question is, if you're playing multiple entries, the question I would ask, or you'd probably ask, is like, are you with, over, or under the field, right? I would probably be under on someone like Romy Gonzalez at 33%. Because that's
do you remember how good JD Martinez was against lefties like 4 years ago?
Yeah, he had like the 1,500 OPS. It's like the greatest season I've ever seen against a lefty.
Yeah, so Romy this year versus left-handed pitching. 393 batting average, 700 slugging, 295 ISO, 475 WOBA, 1138 OPS.
Yeah, and it's actually his expected ISO is actually higher than that. Like I'm not sitting here saying anything bad. Like the Red Sox are a great stack. It's a great stack.
It's a crazy split. Again, JD Martinez, premier lethal lefty killer for
and he had multiple 40 home run seasons playing every day, not just hitting lefties.
But when a lefty on the mound, Romy Gonzalez is basically that guy. Which is insane numbers wise. And again, even then, he still has a 900 OPS on the year. So,
well, that just goes to show that there is a obvious drop off, and there's not going to be many at bats you find against righties because he ain't playing against them. He's not playing against a lot
they throw Toro at first when a righty's on the mound, and they put Meyer back in.
And they bring. I think the question you have to ask yourself is if you're playing single entry. Well, if you're playing cash, Boston is the best cash team on the board.
Yeah.
Point blank, it is. Single entry, they look great. That is more of a question if you have to ask yourself. And then MME, you're just asking, am I with, against, or am I over? Am I under the field? Or am I with the field? I'm probably under on like anyone 30%. Because that's a high number. That's a big number with how much variance there is in baseball. Like that's different than you and I doing a basketball show. And you're like, are you fading this 30% 3K player? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to play him and I'm going to figure out the rest of
especially in the NBA where like production's almost guaranteed. Again, we talk about all the time in baseball, a chalk play can go bust half, Ohtani's like 2 for his last 30. That guy's always.
Yeah. And he's a first ballot Hall of Famer if he retired today.
So anyways, Romy's up there. Crazy split numbers at $4,400 if you're getting to him. You'd be playing in Boston, as you mentioned, right-handed hitter, left field wall. Like if he's got a homer, it's probably going to be in this ballpark.
Yes.
That's like the only downside to a Ref Snyder, to a Romy Gonzalez, to an Abraham Toro is like they don't really have a ton of power. Yes. Like the ISO and slugging and all those numbers are legit, but they're more like gap double hitters than they are home run hitters, and to win a tournament, you really need home runs. So, this ballpark can at least lend itself to that.
Home runs, Vladdy, that's one tonight.
Yeah.
Against Burke. Burke struggled specifically against righties this year. 201 ISO, 284 expected ISO to right-handed bats, Sean. That is not, I know Vladdy has not hit a lot, and we'll get to another Blue Jays righty, a couple of them actually coming up here soon. But I am a big fan of Vladdy tonight. I think this is a definite spot to get on the board in the home run category.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Those are the top 2 guys ownership wise. Where do you look to go next?
I think I am like the Jansen Junk stuff is really, I don't know if he's good or not. A lot of numbers suggest he is. A lot of numbers suggest he's not. We'll see as a starter. He doesn't look as good as he did as a reliever. So I kind of like Spencer Steer in the lineup, hitting 6th tonight. Really good ballpark, really good game environment, good weather outside that little rain, but like it's warm there. So I like some Spencer Steer. I don't hate Miguel Vargas if you're stacking against Berrios. We talked Liam Hicks. I like Liam Hicks 3,400 because I like lefties against Brady Singer. If Cronenworth, you want to play Cronenworth here, you can. Probably want to play him at 2nd though if you're going to get exposure. Toro, you had talked about. I actually enjoy when he plays against lefties because that just makes me feel better about the roster. Like it tells me that like when he plays against righties, I'm worried that Abraham Toro, like he gets pinch hit for. But when he plays against lefties, like they're not bringing in Marcelo Meyer because they could just flip Toro over, right? Like that would be
this is his worst split side
for sure.
But again, ownership. He's at an 050 ISO versus left-handed pitching. Like not good numbers. Righties, it's 190. Like that's where you want Abraham Toro versus righties if you're gonna put him in your lineup. But he's so cheap and he hits where he hits.
Yes.
He's hitting 8th today. He was sitting up higher. I think it was yesterday or whatever. But he just fits the stacks. You play him at 3rd, not play him at 1st. If you're gonna go in that direction there. That's probably it, though. Would you play anything else?
No.
Okay. Second base, then we go. Ketel Marte.
We just Anthony said the roster 2 catchers thing. I personally think that's not the best strategy because catcher is not a good position, and like not one unless Cal Raleigh exists, like you're getting much offense out of.
Yeah, we're talking, and it's we say this all the time, and Anthony ends up usually being right on him, so good on him. Salvy's probably homering twice tonight now, but it's not often that's a good play given the talent that's on the board. But
yeah, I guess more so it was more like a general statement than it is like specific to Salvador Perez plus whatever other good catcher he wants to play.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's just not like my favorite strategy, like getting 2 catchers in. I mean, catchers have so much responsibility. It's why you don't see like them be very good offensively, except like a handful of catchers.
Yeah, right. If this was the year that Salvy Perez had the Cal Raleigh season, we'd be we'd all be fine. All right. Other second base options here again. Ketel Marte. You can play Romy at second if you wanted to, which probably is attributing to his ownership.
Yes.
McLean's hitting second tonight. Xavier Edwards is leading off. I think there's a decent amount of guys up here that you could play. Altuve is probably the worst of it.
Yeah, and he's coming off like endless amounts of good games. He's been absolutely raking. I don't really have like I don't really have like anything groundbreaking here. Like Marte is a great play because he's a great player. You could play Altuve in a tournament if you want to be different against Bybee. Romy, we just talked about him against lefties. Xavier Edwards has a great spot. Lefties against Brady Singer look great. And we know Xavier Edwards has no power. No power. All speed. 15 stolen bases on the year. And to your point,
just
McLean
hitting second, just
the lineup, the correlation in the lineup looks good. Now lefties look a little better against Jansen Junk. The righty power underlying stuff looks pretty good. But yeah, I think Edwards probably the first name I'm clicking on that's not including Romy.
You work your way down the list here. Estrada is hitting cleanup if you are in on Colorado at all, or even a one-off play. I like Gonzalez against Cameron at 35. Again, that offense isn't going to do much, but I'm fine with that. And then India's leading off at 34 as well.
Yeah, I like those plays. The only other one I'd mention is Lennon Sosa, who continues to just kind of be good for the White Sox. Berrios has been like really good at times and not so good at other times. And he's been specifically bad against righties this year. 214 ISO, 269 expected ISO, 318 WOBA, 366 expected WOBA. Sosa 181 expected ISO this year. Has hit 6 of his 7 home runs against right-handed pitchers. So I don't hate the punt. Not specific, like 2,800 is not entirely a punt, but I don't hate the like cheap dart at a just a bad position. I like Estrada, as you mentioned. I think Gonzalez and India are all solid and Cronenworth solid, but one that's not going to get any love in ownership.
Sure. Third base. Again, you mentioned Jose Ramirez up there, $5,500, doing it all himself. Machado, Suarez up at the top. We had I don't know, maybe Zach Gallen's dad in our chat this morning, just defending Zach Gallen.
Might have been Zach Gallen's a relative for sure.
Yeah, it might have been a relative of Zach Gallen defending him on the preview show. I get it. You know what? And honestly, he's right to call us out. We did not at all mention that Gallen had a career start in his last start against last time out.
A career. I mean, he's been doing that he has done that a lot in his career. He has not done that. Good. You know what? Good for Zach Gallen. He was great for one start. He has the second worst ERA in baseball amongst all qualified starters.
7 innings, 1 earned, 10 strikeouts. Hat tip to you, sir.
Second. I think he had to get that start to be second.
Yeah, I don't foresee that. You know what though? If he does it again, that'll eat my words. Then you're okay. Maybe he is turning a leaf, but on all of the numbers suggest no. So I'm just gonna keep pretending that was something that happened, and I'll gladly play a Machado or a Tatis or something like that against him here.
Like on the Zach Gallen, yes, agreed. I would as well. And Gallen has been bad against both splits, but he's been really bad against righties. The best two players on the team for the San Diego Padres are right-handed hitters. One of them shouldn't be on the All-Star team. He even said so himself. He booked a vacation. I don't know if you saw that Tatis thing, but it was funny. He booked a vacation because he didn't think he'd make the All-Star team. But guess what, John? He voted in by his peers. The Padres kind of stink offensively.
They do.
So, there's a world where Zach Gallen has an okay start, but also there's a world, the best two players on the Padres, one of them has an expected ISO of 280 and the other one has an expected ISO of 210, 210 being Manny Machado, absolutely both homer off him tonight because righties have been the worst side of the split for Gallen. So, I like the Padres, and it is not range of outcomes. Yes, Zach Gallen could be fine. Sorry to that family member that we made upset. And, but the facts are the facts. He's been a bad pitcher this year, and one start doesn't change that equation. I'm more likely to play Manny Machado than I am play Zach Gallen. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Alec Barger at $4,100 today. If you're looking to get it down from that top tier, Paredes, again, I understand that there's not a ton to like about Houston's offense, but he is
the one.
The one. Yeah. Your highest roster guys are the two Red Sox plays down below. We talked Toro already, but Nate Eaton's leading off again. He's $2,500. He's getting the most ownership, nearly 22%. Barger's the non-Red Sox ownership play today. No one's spending up at this position.
The Eaton one is funny to me because it is obviously a great play from a lot of different areas, but no surprise if Nate Eaton goes over 2 and spin chip for his third at bat. But it doesn't matter, right? He's 2,500. If he gets you a 0 and that gets you Corbin Carroll and whoever else, then that's fine.
Yeah.
And you're eating a 2,500 0 that's leading off. Yeah, sure. But don't be surprised if Nate Eaton doesn't go have a hit or stolen base every day because he's been in the minor leagues his whole career until Boston just randomly decided hey, let's just screw it. Let's just lead this guy off and ride the wave. So
don't understand why he's hitting leadoff and Ceddanne Raphael is hitting.
Yeah,
someone said over the last 30 days in terms of F-WAR, it's Judge, Soto, Ceddanne Raphael, and it's
pretty good company. I'd say.
But that guy's hitting ninth. So
that guy, the other two, by the way, don't hit ninth.
They
I don't know if you guys
ninth.
have heard Judge and Soto. They don't hit ninth.
They're really good.
I think just circling back to some of the names you talked about, Barger obviously looks great in a Blue Jay stack. That dude's awesome. I hate that Nolby's hitting ninth. Yeah. That's not the best, but
wraparound sack, I guess.
Yeah, he fits in a wraparound. I don't mind Gavin Lux at 3,200, primarily because the lefty stuff against Jansen Junk looks pretty good. But at the end of the day, all that stuff, you just look and you're but they're not a $2,500 leadoff hitter.
Yeah, if you're not a believer of Nate Eaton, you did highlight Brian Hayes is hitting a little bit better lately, and
he won't be pinch hit for.
You want, and this is, again, it's take it for what it's worth when I say this is his right split side, but Brian Hayes has historically better numbers versus lefties. He has never been the player the Pirates hoped he would develop into, obviously, but he's hitting 6th today or 5th rather. You want to go ahead a Nick Gonzalez, Brian Hayes, 4 or 5.
Hell yeah, really get me going, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, you knock it out of the park. Trevor Story is your highest roster shortstop today.
What?
Again, for very obvious reasons. I think even if the Red Sox weren't doing what they were doing, but Story was doing what he is doing, he would still be the highest rostered shortstop on the slate. 4K. We've highlighted all season long, and I brought this up to you because the Red Sox announcers kind of highlighted it, that he's just hammering slow stuff off speed, and now he's got a guy whose fastball is 88.
Where does his bat speed? Have you looked at this? Where does his bat speed rank? Have we looked at that up?
I haven't actually looked at his Savant page. It's probably not very good because he's just recently been hot over the last month.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's very blue.
Yeah.
30. Good. He has a 30 percentile bat speed.
Yeah, not good.
Which checks out why he's hitting the soft.
Hard hit rate though, exit velo and barrel rates are all really good, and maybe again could be a reason why he's starting to heat up now. Maybe we look at this at a month and those numbers are different. But yeah, he's just doing really well. On general, they said he's doing fairly well against off speed stuff in terms of power numbers. So
dude, he's driving in a boatload of runs.
Yeah. Dude, 53 RBIs.
Right? 53 RBIs. That's top 5 amongst all shortstops in baseball.
So take that for what it's worth. Hitting in the middle of that lineup today, hitting 5th at 4K, getting all of the ownership. So if you want to pivot off of him, it's all the top guys after that. It's Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, and Bichette getting 10+%. Bobby Witt's getting 15.
Yeah, I love Ellie. I talked about it. I think the junk stuff against lefties is a little bit concerning. The lefties have a really good numbers. We know this is the strong split side for Ellie. 238 ISO, 388 WOBA. 13 of his home runs have come against righty. So love that. Love Bobby Witt. His power is slowly creeping in. He's been pretty good. We know Andrew Heaney isn't shy about allowing a home run either. That has always been the Andrew Heaney stuff. 171 ISO to righties this year. Bobby Witt, 174 expected ISO to lefties. So I think Trey Turner's a kind of a sneaky top tier play. We've kind of talked about the Landon Roop stuff a lot. And Landon Roop is, I think, pretty consensus, good pitcher. He doesn't always pitch very deep into games, but he has been hit by right-handed bats this year. Don't hate Trey Turner. Obviously, easier to steal against a right-handed pitcher as well. So we know Trey Turner has that in the bag as well. So you can get to any of the top 3, Turner being the contrarian one. Ellie, I think, has the highest ceiling. And then, you got to make the decision. Do you value this position at the top? Because you mentioned Story, and I think Bichette looks great as well. We talked about the righty power numbers for Burke that Sean Burke has allowed. I mean, it's real. And Bichette, 185 expected ISO against righties. Also, after that slow start, now hitting. Dude, I like the lineup change. Hitting 4th, we got that lineup confirmation again. We kind of speculated that Lucas would lead off, and it's happened again. They're doing that same lineup they've been running. So, yeah, I think Bichette and Story look great in the mid-tier.
Yep. Anything for value for you?
I mean, you could play. I don't like the split against righties for Ernie Clement, but Burke is bad against righties. So, if you're stacking Blue Jays.
I think our guy has a sub 100 ISO against right-handed pitching. So
show some respect, okay? Colson Montgomery obviously made his debut in Coors. That probably is a good feeling for anybody. Hey, you're going to the big leagues. You also get to make your debut in Coors Field against Rockies pitching. That has to feel pretty good. So maybe some confidence booster there for Colson Montgomery. Obviously, talented kid, might strike out a boatload, but I think he's fine.
Going to the outfield again, as we talked about, Red Sox ownership is where it's at. Roman Anthony, Rob Refsnyder, your top 2 rostered outfielders for today. Zidane Rafael is in the top 5 there. Willie O'Brien is in the top 7. So Boston galore. Refsnyder splits, as we talked about. He and Romy Gonzalez are sort of the lefty specialists on this team. Batting average wise, he's only hitting 270 while Romy was hitting like almost 400. But it's still a 220 ISO, an 850 OPS, a 490 slugging percentage for Rob Refsnyder there. Again, this is a guy that talked about retiring, and they were just like, "Why don't you just come back and hit lefties?" He's like, "Okay," because this is what he's done since he's come to Boston. So, so Refsnyder's up there again. Roman Anthony, last 2 weeks for Roman Anthony, last 12 games. You want to just split his season in half. I think he's played like 24 games. Last 12, he's hitting over 300 with an 800 OPS. So, shocker, number one prospect in baseball's good at baseball there.
Yeah.
If you're not going Red Sox, George Springer, 5K, getting some ownership. You've highlighted righties here against Burke. And then Jesus Sanchez for value play, someone that we talked about in the morning show. A guy that's starting to come on, has some power. And you mentioned the lefty bats there against Singer.
Yes. I like the Red Sox. I think the one you didn't mention is my favorite one, the guy who might not be in a premium lineup position. May or may not be. Depends on who's asking. If you ask Sedan, it doesn't matter where he hits, clearly. I love Springer today. I think we can get a Springer dinger is largely in the cards. I mean, he has obviously been incredible. Probably should be in the All-Star game. Probably also could end up there. We'll see how like things shake out. We know how players drop out of to play in the game all the time. But against righties this year, 233 ISO, 304 expected ISO for George Springer, 396 WOBA, 419 expected. So I like George Springer quite a bit. I think George Springer looks excellent against a guy who has just simply struggled against righties. Again, I'll reiterate for people who missed it earlier in the show, but 201 ISO for Sean Burke against righties, 284 expected ISO, 15% strikeout rate, just doesn't get righties out. And then we'll go to the Richard comment. I couldn't disagree. I couldn't disagree more. Richard's in here just giving facts, and he is acting as if he is God in this chat. And I think that you have to, there's a lot of things that you have to factor in. One, Miami has not been as bad as maybe they have perception wise. If you followed that team recently, they've been pretty good. And in fact, they're not even in last place in their division. They're in division anymore.
Yeah. So,
and then you factor in how bad Brady Singer's truly been against lefties. And then you look at the underlying numbers for Brady Singer against lefties. And then if you want to even sprinkle a little bit on top there, John, they're in a terrible ballpark for pitching and the environment. And then when you look at Brady Singer, the former ground ball pitcher is not generating ground balls anymore. And it's a high fly ball rate, especially to left-handed variety. Couldn't disagree with that comment more. I think Jesus Sanchez is a good play. I think most of the Marlins lefties look really good. And again, I'm not God either. And neither are you, Richard. So we'll agree to disagree here.
Last 30 days
okay.
against right-handed pitching. Last 30 days against right-handed pitching.
Okay.
Miami has the 5th best team batting average in baseball, 267.
It's a good dude. They've for what they have been, I think largely, and the perception of what they've been, they're not that team, right? And they've obviously. They got Stowers back during that time. They made lineup changes. They made positional changes with Lopez and Edwards playing like more comfortable positions. Like they called up Augustin Ramirez, obviously. He's a big, powerful dude. It's a different team. And you're getting a guy in Singer who has a 197 baseline ISO against lefties, 232 expected ISO, 329 WOBA, 370 expected WOBA. He only has a 9% swinging strike rate to lefties, 93 mile an hour exit velocity.
Sure.
There's a lot of bad there with an elevated fly ball rate. So
I mean, even you're talking more recent data. Again, last 2 weeks, they have the 8th most plate appearances. So just kind of give you concepts, 10, top 10 in terms of plate appearances. They rank 7th in batting average, 273. They have a 178 ISO against right-handed pitching, and they are 9th in WOBA at 334. That's the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching. And again, the last 30 days, they're 5th in team batting average. So, numbers aren't terrible right now. The young guys, Norby and Stowers and Sanchez and these guys all start to come around and hit from the left side of the plate. which is what we kind of highlighted earlier the year when they had that first baseman they've since DFA'd. But what's his face there for the Cubs?
He was on the Cubs. Yeah,
but he was hot with Stowers. Mervis. Again, he was a lefty power bat that got hot with Stowers early in the season. Like, dude, like they have some power from the left side, and that still is holding true there. So, will they probably eventually meet water? Maybe, but again, a lot of young talent. I mean, maybe they get there. So,
I think like on the Sanchez point, like specifically, he's getting all that ownership. I think the great pivot is spending more money to get to Stowers. Not that I think Sanchez is a bad play, because I think he's a good play. But like, there's Kyle Stowers has been a maniac since he like obviously recovered from this like hand injury that he had. He's a 275 ISO against righties this year, 310 expected ISO, 380 WOBA, 398 expected WOBA. He has hit 16 home runs this year, John. Yeah. All 16 of them have come against right-handed pitching. He was just announced to the All-Star game. He's belting home runs left and right, and he has an elite ballpark to do it in. So I think the Marlins look great. I wish Otto Lopez was in the lineup for personal and seasonal and DFS reasons. I wish that was the case, but I think the lefties look great for Miami. And you could sprinkle in some of their righties too. But yeah, I think Sanchez looks great. And then for a few $100 more, I think Stowers looks great as well at 4,400. We haven't even talked about the top of the position either.
No, I mean, well, again, like no one's really playing them. Ohtani is getting 12%, but that's just your usual like Ohtani ownership. Talked about Springer 5K. Your Fernando Tatis is under 10%. He's your next top spend up in terms of ownership today. So like no one is spending up in the outfield. Corbin Carroll 6%. Like that's it. It's 12, 8, and 6 in terms of your spend up outfielders over $5,000 today.
Doesn't mean we don't have to, because
no, but
I think both those guys
are you playing Carroll, Ohtani, Tatis? You interested there?
Yeah, I think they look pretty good. Like Ohtani, you could literally play against anybody because he's, what he is. Corby hasn't looked great, but you can't just not play somebody because you're going to miss the boat, right? Like he's too good of a player to just like go over for the rest of his life. I mean, at least we think so. He did it for a whole half a season last year. I guess anything's possible. But Yu Darvish is coming off an elbow injury and no rehab. He just pitched just like, hey guys, like I'm just pitching out here on the side and whatnot. So that takes time to come back from. And if Yu Darvish doesn't have control and he puts Corbin Carroll on, that's not a fun thing either. Corbin Carroll has as much upside stealing bases as he does anyone else in the league. So I like Carroll, and we talked about the Gallen righty splits. I'd play any of the top three. You could always play Schwarber in a tournament. Less so inclined to get there in that ballpark tonight, but I'd play any of the top three plus Springer. I think all of them. And love Hicks, Rusty. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Love hitting forward.
You highlight obviously Cedric Rafael. He's $3,500 as one of your favorite plays. Again, no real arguments here for me. 342, 1,100 OPS, 3 homers, no stolen bases, which is something he can do. He got picked off trying to steal yesterday, but definitely turning a corner here. Again, a highly rostered play for value today. You mentioned Stowers already. Where else are you kind of looking to go, I guess, in the outfield?
Just going back up into 4K, I like Austin Hayes in a red stack. Jackson Merrill has looked obviously bad, but Zach Allen solves a lot of issues for a lot of different people this year. I like Tyler Freeman leading off against Richard Fitz. We've talked about the Fitz struggles against righties, and Freeman's been a dog. I mean, you don't need to apologize, Rusty. I was just bringing it up. We like him quite a bit. Tyler Freeman, we've talked about like change of sceneries for guys, right? People go to different places. He gets traded for Nolan Jones. One of those players is really good, and one of those players is possibly going to be DFA'd sooner rather than later. So I like Tyler Freeman quite a bit at 45. I like Friedel leading off at 42 against Jansen Junk. Barger, we talked about. Castellanos live for a home run. Life event yesterday usually follows in Nick Castellanos' greatness the following day.
Anthony Moniak, all there.
Yeah, Anthony Moniak, Talkman, Sanchez, Cam Smith, 3,700 hitting second. Ref Snyder looks great.
Gavin Sheets at 37.
Benny. Yeah, Gavin Sheets is pretty good at baseball again. Nathan Lucas leading off against Sean Burke has been like pretty good lately. And again, he's $3,200 leadoff hitter, or $3,100 leadoff hitter rather. Hits in front of like
all the
really good players, who in that lineup is getting the best pitches to hit, John? I promise you, we can answer that
Tommy
question.
Pham hitting 430 with an 1,100 OPS over his last 10.
Tommy Pham is getting excited
because he is ageless. This guy.
He's getting excited because fantasy football season is upon us. Just seing Nolan Jones hit fifth against a lefty is hilarious. I just wanted to point that out more than anything. He's hitting fifth, and that's super funny to me. And then last year, great player Joey Loperfido is back in the lineup. Hit yesterday, RBI single. Back in the lineup today, hitting ninth. Is a pretty talented kid at one point or another, Unfortunately, he's playing on a team that like is winning and doing a lot of like really good things, and people in his position have been pretty good. So he hasn't had a spot, but Blue Jays are pretty banged up and getting a chance. I don't mind the punt personally. I think Joey Loperfido. I think the Blue Jays look good in general. So they have one of the best implied team totals. I think second. Are they second today? Second or third on the implied team total. So, I think Loperfido looks pretty good.
Do we want Romy at first or second?
Second's terrible. Just playing there. The Astros prospect is he wasn't having the best year, Corona, but I don't mind it. It's fine. Him and you're not playing a 2K. You're not playing a 2K punt because you think he's going to break the slate. Unless it was Fernando Tatis at 2K returning from steroids, then you think he's going to break the slate.
Is this Eaton?
Just fucking.
All right. So we do Sanchez, Romy, Eaton, Rafaela. Get your 9-1-2 wraparound going here.
Kikuchi, I think we both are probably team Kikuchi tonight with the strikeout upside. And you just this is the infinite money glitch. You play Ellie here and you just move on, and that's your core.
Sanchez, Kikuchi, Romy, Eaton, Ellie, Rafaela, catcher first, and 2 outfield spots. $4,400 left for you guys. Again, we'll put the full lineup in the Discord, so make sure you join that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll have the preview show tonight. Get you guys ready for tomorrow. We'll see you then.